As the cold November air settled over Leeds, a young girl's laughter echoed through the bustling city center. Little did she know that her carefree shopping trip would take a sinister turn, leading to one of the most extensive searches in West Yorkshire police history. Picture a peaceful Sunday afternoon, families enjoying the start of the holiday season, streets adorned with twinkling lights, and the promise of Christmas just around the corner. But for one family, this day would mark the beginning of a nightmare that would grip the nation for months to come. As dusk fell, two friends parted ways on a familiar route home. One arrived safely, the other vanished without a trace. The clock ticked, a mother's calls went unanswered, and panic set in. What should have been a short walk home turned into a mystery that would baffle investigators and leave a community on edge.
A daughter walking home from a Christmas shopping trip vanishes without a trace.
I knew she wouldn't run away. She couldn't keep a secret, so if he was going to do anything like that, somebody would have known.
Buckle up, dear viewers, as we delve into the case that shook a city to its core and changed the face of criminal investigation forever. West Yorkshire, England, Leeds. Known for its rich industrial history and vibrant culture, Leeds is home to over 500,000 people. But on November 26, 2000, this lively city became the backdrop for a tragedy that would shake its very foundations. Meet Leanne Tiernan, a bright-eyed 16-year-old with her whole life ahead of her. Leanne was just like any other teenager, full of dreams, laughter, and the excitement of the upcoming holiday season. She lived with her family in Bramley, a suburban area of Leeds, where everyone knew their neighbors and children played freely in the streets. On that fateful Sunday, Leanne and her friend Sarah decided to kick off their Christmas shopping early. They hopped on a bus to Leeds city center, giggling and chatting about their plans for the holidays. The girls spent the afternoon browsing shops, trying on clothes, and enjoying the festive atmosphere. As the day drew to a close, they caught the bus back to Bramley, their arms laden with shopping bags. At around 4:50 p.m., Leanne and Sarah got off the bus and began their usual walk home. They reached Holly Lane, where their paths diverged. Sarah watched as Leanne set off alone down an unlit path through a wooded area known locally as Holly Gill. It was a route Leanne had taken countless times before, a shortcut that would shave a few minutes off her journey home. Sarah waved goodbye, not knowing it would be the last time she'd see her friend. When Sarah arrived home, she did what any good friend would do. She called Leanne's house to make sure she'd gotten back safely. To her surprise, Leanne wasn't there. Concern began to creep in, but surely there was a simple explanation. Maybe Leanne had stopped to chat with someone or decided to take a detour. As the minutes ticked by, worry turned to fear. At 5:20 p.m., Leanne's mom, unable to shake the feeling that something was wrong, tried calling her daughter's mobile phone. It rang and rang with no answer. When she tried again, the call was cut off after just 4 rings. By 7:00 p.m., with still no word from Leanne, her family made the decision that would set in motion one of the largest missing person investigations in West Yorkshire's history. It called the police. Neighbors, friends, and even strangers joined forces with the police in a desperate search for the missing teenager. The streets of Leeds, once filled with holiday cheer, now echoed with calls of Leanne's name. Detective Superintendent Chris Gregg took charge of the investigation, dubbed Operation Koneva. He knew they were in a race against time. Every passing hour decreased the chances of finding Leanne safe and sound. The search efforts were nothing short of extraordinary. Imagine this: over 200 officers and hundreds of volunteers combing through every nook and cranny of the area. They searched a staggering 1,750 buildings, leaving no stone unturned. Underwater search teams plunged into the murky depths of the Leeds and Liverpool Canal, scouring a 3-mile stretch for any clues. But the investigators didn't stop there. In a move that shows just how thorough they were, they even halted household waste collections. Why? So they could search every single bin in the area for potential evidence. Talk about dedication. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, the police tried every trick in the book to find Leanne. They sent text messages to her mobile phone, hoping against hope for a response. A local businessman offered a hefty £10,000 reward for information. Supermarket chain Iceland even printed Leanne's picture on milk cartons sold nationwide. It seemed like the whole country was on the lookout for this missing girl. On December 3rd, just a week after Leanne's disappearance, the police staged a reconstruction of her last known movements. Sarah, Leanne's friend, and Leanne's older sister, Michelle, retraced the girl's steps from that fateful day. The hope was that this might jog someone's memory, leading to that crucial breakthrough they so desperately needed. But despite all these efforts, solid leads remained elusive. There were whispers of sightings as far away as Doncaster and Blackpool, but nothing concrete materialized. The police released an e-fit, a computer-generated image of a man seen walking his dog near Howley Gill around the time Leanne vanished. He was described as stocky, with a round, reddish face, wearing a black woolen hat and a waterproof jacket. But even this potential lead led to a dead end. As the investigation continued, Leanne's family and friends lived in a state of agonizing limbo. Her boyfriend, 19-year-old Wayne Keeley, made heartfelt pleas for her to get in touch. The pain of not knowing was etched on every face in Bramley. Little did they know that the truth was far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. 9 long months had passed since Leanne's disappearance. The seasons had changed, Christmas had come and gone, and still, there was no sign of the missing teenager. But on August 20, 2001, everything changed. Mark Bisson was out for a walk with his 2 dogs in Lindley Woods, a peaceful area near Otley, on the border of North and West Yorkshire. As his dogs sniffed around, Mark noticed something unusual hidden among the dense foliage. What he found would send shockwaves through the community and reignite the investigation. Hidden just 50 yards from a busy car park, Mark had stumbled upon what was left of Leanne. The discovery was as heartbreaking as it was chilling. Leanne had been carefully wrapped in 9 green plastic bin bags secured with twine. A black bin bag was fixed around her head, held in place with a leather dog collar. The entire bundle was then placed inside a floral-patterned duvet cover. The meticulous nature of how Leanne was hidden sent a clear message to investigators. This was no random act. The person responsible had gone to great lengths to conceal their actions. As forensic teams descended on the scene, they made several crucial observations. Leanne's Ales coat and black boots were nowhere to be found. Plastic cable ties had been used to bind her hands and as a ligature. A dark-colored scarf was wrapped tightly around her neck. Perhaps the most confusing detail was the state of Leanne's remains. Despite the 9 months that had passed, her body showed signs of preservation that didn't match up with the expected timeline. This led some experts to an unsettling conclusion. Leanne might have been kept in cold storage, possibly a freezer, for a significant period after her passing. The discovery raised more questions than it answered. Why Lindley Woods? Was there a connection to the location? And who could have had the means and opportunity to keep Leanne hidden for so long? Detective Superintendent Chris Gregg, who had led the search for Leanne, now found himself at the helm of one of the most high-profile murder investigations in West Yorkshire's history. He knew that every detail, no matter how small, could be the key to unmasking the person responsible for this heinous act. The police made a public appeal for information. They asked anyone who had been in Lindley Woods recently or knew of others who frequently visited the area to come forward. Little did they know that this appeal would lead them straight to the doorstep of a man living just a stone's throw away from Leanne's home. 2 women, former girlfriends of a local man named John Taylor, separately contacted the police with the same chilling information. They both mentioned that Taylor had driven past Lindley Woods in their company, boasting about his frequent poaching trips to the area. This tip led investigators to take a closer look at John Taylor. On the surface, he seemed like an ordinary guy, a parcel delivery worker for Parcelforce. Taylor lived on the same housing estate as Leanne, barely a mile from where she was last seen. Neighbors knew him as the Pet Man because he kept dogs and ferrets and sold pet food. He was 44 years old at the time of Leanne's disappearance. As detectives dug deeper into Taylor's background, they discovered he was a frequent user of Lonely Hearts advertisements. Interviews with women who had dated Taylor revealed a pattern of unsettling behavior. One woman disclosed that Taylor had told her he enjoyed tying women up and locking them in cupboards. Another shared that he had a fondness for bondage, whips, and ties, and had expressed a desire to tie up her daughter with cable ties. A former girlfriend who had briefly lived with Taylor said she ended the relationship because of his bondage obsession and the feeling that she was being forced into things she didn't want. These revelations painted a picture of a man with dark desires hidden behind an unassuming facade, but suspicions alone weren't enough to make an arrest. The police needed hard evidence to link Taylor to Leanne's fate. That's when forensic science stepped in, providing a series of breakthrough clues. 1. The leather dog collar found on Leanne was traced back to a mail-order company. Taylor's name was on their customer list. 2. A hair found caught in the knot of the scarf around Leanne's neck yielded a DNA profile matching Taylor's. 3. The unique twine used to secure the bin bags was traced to a small batch sold to the public for rabbit catch nets. The same twine was found in Taylor's home. 4. Yellow cable ties found on Leanne's body were of a type primarily sold to Royal Mail, Taylor's employer. 5. Traces of distinctive red carpet fibers found on Leanne's clothing matched fibers discovered in Taylor's recently stripped and burned carpet. 6. A forensic pollen analysis showed that Leanne had been in Taylor's garden just before she met her end. This mountain of evidence was impossible to ignore. On October 16, 2001, nearly a year after Leanne's disappearance, John Taylor was taken into custody on suspicion of her slaying. As investigators zeroed in on John Taylor, they knew they had to tread carefully. When they searched his house, what they found sent chills down their spines. Taylor had recently removed all the carpeting from his home and burned it, but he wasn't thorough enough. Tiny traces of red carpet fibers, matching those found on Leanne, were discovered caught on nails in the floorboards. During questioning, Taylor's story began to unravel. He initially claimed Leanne's passing was an accident, saying he had picked her up by the scarf around her neck. But as evidence mounted, his tale became less and less believable. When pressed about why he had taken Leanne, Taylor's chilling response was simply, "I have no idea." It was an answer that offered no comfort to Leanne's grieving family or the community seeking answers. Taylor's attempts to explain away his actions only dug him deeper. He claimed he had first hidden Leanne's body under pallets in his back garden, then later moved her inside his sofa. But forensic evidence suggested a far more disturbing scenario, that Leanne had been kept in cold storage, possibly a freezer, for an extended period. On February 15, 2002, Taylor appeared before Mr. Justice Poole at Leeds Crown Court. He pleaded guilty to Leanne's abduction, but wasn't asked to enter a plea on the charge of ending her life. It wasn't until July 8, 2002, the first day of his trial, that Taylor finally admitted to Leanne's slaying. The judge's words during sentencing were scathing. He described Taylor as a dangerous individual with a fondness for certain inappropriate actions. The judge stated that Taylor's actions were as cold and calculating as can be imagined, and that he must expect to spend the rest of his life in custody. Taylor received a life sentence, with a minimum term initially said 20 years. However, this wasn't the end of the story. As investigators dug deeper into Taylor's past, they uncovered a trail of harm that stretched back years. Using Taylor's DNA profile, police were able to link him to 2 unsolved attacks in the area where he lived. Both involved women being forced into inappropriate situations at knife point. In February 2003, Taylor pleaded guilty to these earlier crimes, receiving 2 more life sentences. The revelations didn't stop there. Police found a mysterious diamond necklace in Taylor's car that they couldn't trace. This discovery, along with Taylor's pattern of meeting women through personal ads across the country, led investigators to suspect there might be more victims out there. The Leanne Tiernan case had far-reaching implications. It led to the reopening of several cold cases, including unsolved losses of life in both West Yorkshire and Glasgow. The thorough and innovative investigative techniques used in this case set new standards for forensic science and criminal investigations. As for the community of Bramley and Leanne's family, the wounds ran deep. The knowledge that such a dangerous individual had been living in their midst shattered their sense of security. Yet, in the face of this tragedy, they came together, supporting each other and working to ensure that Leanne's memory would live on. In conclusion, the tragic story of Leanne Tiernan serves as a stark reminder of the darker side of human nature, but it also showcases the relentless pursuit of justice, the power of forensic science, and the strength of a community united in the face of unimaginable evil. Leanne's legacy lives on in the advances made in criminal investigations and in the hearts of those who knew and loved her. As we reflect on this case, let's remember Leanne not as a victim, but as a vibrant young girl whose life was cut tragically short. And let's honor her memory by remaining vigilant, supporting one another, and never giving up in the pursuit of truth and justice.